Yeah, I would say it's almost in my conversations with customers also, it's almost like a chicken and the egg situation where
Mm,
if you have like
yeah,
too small of a factory and it's like a single controls engineer who's maintaining that, then it's he's never going to see the benefits of version control because he's alone, right? He's the only one who opens those programs. It's great. But as the
mm,
business scales, it's almost like he becomes the problem or the bottleneck because now you cannot have a full team working
mm.
on different software. So it's a difficult situation, I think, and people don't see it at the scale they need to see it, and they don't experience those edge problems until it's too late
Exactly.
almost.
And it gets even worse. It gets even worse for OT because the big challenge I've had, I do a lot of my time I'm spending now with my company is to do pair programming. So I spend a majority of the time right now doing pair programming. So we have a system we're going to build. I always make sure I don't want to do this alone. I need to do pair programming. So I transfer my knowledge over to someone else. One of the things I learned now, getting feedback from people, working with them, and when they encounter, let's talk about version control, right? When they encounter version control the first time, is that if you have never done version control, if you're doing IT now, I'm going to do Python, I'm going to do Java, I'm going to do C, whatever, text based language, right? I'm going to do version control. It's a hurdle already to understand Git. I remember when I was supposed to learn Git the first time, and I was like, oh, what is this? I understand why Linus Torvalds invented it, right? Because it probably required someone like him to even come up with something like absurd like this. But after a few months, I just loved it. But it was not a leap of faith, but it was like a big hurdle to come over to understand the concept of distributed version control systems. And it was a big step. Now, OT, they have all of that IT has to understand about version control and a lot of other things on top of that, right? Because we have the proprietary development environments, and they store file not as obviously if you do ladder, obviously you're not going to have pure nice text that you can just compare and do stuff with. You're going to have some weird markup language in there to store the graphical data, even if you do structured text. So a pure so Beckoff, for example, for some reason, if anyone from Beckoff is listening, they are doing something very stupid, and that is that they're taking the structured text, the pure text that is what we want. I only want the source code, and they're putting it into this XML markup crap. I'm gonna say crap because it doesn't add any business value. It doesn't add any value whatsoever. Zero. I don't know whether the reason is because they come from the codices or something. I have no idea. But
Mhm.
the thing is that adds additional complexity for the OT people, right? So first of all, they have to learn that you have the version control things with all of that, commits, push, sync, branches, all of the stuff, which is it takes a while, right? If you
Yep.
never work
Yeah,
with
yeah.
version control. And on top of that, you have all these other things about OT that no, in OT we don't do pure tech. We do all of this additional crap. And then I have to explain to people, yeah, this XML, just ignore it, just pretend like it's not there. Or if you do that, just pretend it's not there. And they're like, then they feel, well, but I don't want to do version control anymore. You know?
Wait, they write files like when you export the file, is going to be an XML file, or that's some
Not
kind of a
export. No,
data?
it's that's what they're storing their. They use a lot of XML backoff, and they store all the source code in XML more or less. Also configuration data, motion control configuration, IO definitions, safety as well. I think basically everything that you expect from a PLC is XML, XML, XML. So that's fine for configuration stuff. You have to add the markup data, but for source code, there's just no point. And we can just compare it now to Sematic AX, the new platform from Siemens. They are probably the first ones or one of the earliest ones at least to store it in pure text. I think BNR are doing it as well actually. That's
Right.
just a,
And you
but
can write
again,
it in C sharp, if I'm not mistaken, right? Semantic AX allows you to import.
it is they created their own ISC 611.31-3 compiler. So it is structured text actually. It's all structured text, and the source code is just plain. And but they have, if you look at the people behind the project and everything, it's a completely fresh take on everything. It's really starting from scratch. We don't all have that luxury. But I think something like just ditching that XML, a little bit off topic, but ditching that XML from back off, just do it. Don't wait. It's just causing so much problem for everyone that wants to do version control. And again, going back to the discussion, when I'm teaching and I'm telling people use version control, one of the things that is like the prerequisite for everything else we're talking about, right? If you're going to talk about CI/CD pipelines, continuous integration,
Mhm.
the absolute bare minimum you have to do is version control to take the
Right.
next step.